and I'm like, I'm actually kind of gay, but
How did you navigate some of that?
let's hug in the middle of the hallway.
Right.
We're gonna join the Gay Flag Football League. We kind of had like a whiteboard
Yeah.
with like, diagrams and everything. Inflation.
Here in Austin, what is dating like?
Oh, I need some wine to talk about this.
This episode of Primary Care is sponsored by Regiette Health. More than just an ED treatment.
I'm Tyler. It's nice to meet you.
My name is Brandon Hines from small town Georgia called Catawba.
On your journey from mid-Georgia to where you're at today, what was it like growing up in the South, African-American, queer?
Growing up, I was kind of that typical boy. All of my family members used to be like, that's what a boy should look like. That's how you should act. And I'm like, I'm actually kind of gay. But no, it was crazy. It was kind of like I felt cursed in a sense, from a financial aspect and also from kind of a sexuality aspect as well. So it was kind of I kind of felt like I was on an island in a sense.
Sure.
It was wild, yeah. When you're in middle school and high school, like, puberty, all of that stuff plays a big part into conversation. So I felt like I couldn't be my authentic self. And it was kind of like they know Brandon, but they don't know, like, the actual Brandon. So I kind of always had a mask up. So I couldn't just lean authentically into my friendships, which kind of resulted in some of them deteriorating once I got older.
Obviously, growing up in sports, I'm sure the guys would often talk about their romantic relationships. Would that be kind of a struggle for you? How did you navigate some of that?
So I was pretty smooth. I'm pretty smooth. I'm not gonna lie. But
I get that vibe.
I was pretty smooth with it. It was kind of like I had girlfriends. So like every chance we got to hug in the public, I made sure it was like a, let's hug in the middle of the hallway.
Right. Is there a camera around?
Yeah, for sure. Let's call the paparazzi. But so I kind of did those like stunts, I guess you can say.
Yes, love it.
And then any conversation around like sex and anything like that, I just made sure that I kept it pretty vague.
Right.
I am a pretty private person in general, but all of those conversations I kind of just kept it vague. If they asked me something, I always kind of deflected, like, oh, look at that car,
right.
something like that. But definitely I did it for, kind of to protect, myself, because I know if I would have told them I was gay, I feel like I would have had a totally different experience in high school, maybe even in college. So it was kind of for protection in a sense.
Did you recall getting taught anything about sex when you were in middle or high school?
For sure. So we had like health classes and stuff, but it was always like just the most corniest, like cliches, like just super dramatic. But yeah, I had a few. I think even for kids, I think it's good to know, like, teach kids what the consequences are of their actions, and then people are gonna do what they're gonna do regardless. I don't think putting things in front of kids is gonna make someone gay or anything of that nature. But I think just kind of letting them know what could result as far as like STDs, all that kind of stuff, and then as long as they know, of course you're gonna make mistakes, but I feel like that's probably the best approach to that.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic that people think by exposing kids to homosexuality or queer relationships, it's gonna turn them queer. Let me just say, I've seen a lot of straight relationships from Disney Channel to Nickelodeon to everything, everywhere represented, and it did not turn me straight.
Right. I'm like, I need a refund.
I know, right? Where's the straight grooming did not work for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you mentioned that you were actually still in the closet in college.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was interesting. So I kind of went into college like, I don't want to make a lot of friends. I want to be more low key, because the more people I meet is the more people I have to come out to. Yeah. So it kind of I couldn't be my full self in college either. I didn't want to join any organizations. I had a good college experience, don't get me wrong, but it did kind of hinder my networking, socializing, all of that kind of stuff, because I felt like the more people I met, the more people I would have to come out to. And then as far as dating wise, I was like, praise the Lord, every time,
Same.
every time that conversation came up. So
Yep. It's a good fallback,
For sure, yeah.
So what led you to deciding that it was time to come out, and where are you at right now in that journey?
For sure. So the first person I ever told was my sister, and I have three sisters. My youngest sister is one I told, and I was like 21 and 22 when I told her, and it just like it was weighing on me so much. I'm like, I have to tell somebody, and I texted her like, hey, I'm gay, and she was like, okay, cool, and I'm like, okay. But you know, we're super close. I have a super close family too. But I officially came out is when I did the video with I'm from Driftwood, is when I kind of like ripped the Band-Aid off, and I just like posted it and just deleted social media. But it was a good experience, you know, coming from South Georgia. I kind of knew I didn't want to come out until I had like financial support for myself and all that kind of stuff, just in case things went left. But shout out to my family because they took it pretty well. You know, and it's been a good experience, but it just got to a point where I just couldn't hold it in anymore. I'm like, you know, I gotta live for myself. So that was kind of that.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. I came out officially to my family vocally. I was probably just about to finish medical school, and that's where I was like, okay, I'm about to finish. I have a job, you know, I'm going into residency. Financially, I'll be able to support myself just in case, right? You just never know. And I always say that to people too that are asking me like, what should I do? How should I come out? And I always say, make sure you're in a safe place. You have a good support system, even if it's just one person. Was lucky too. My family was relatively supportive. I wanted them to be a little bit more supportive. I think we can always expect the most out of our family, and they came around, you know, over time a lot better. And where we're at now is a great place. My partner, who I've been with 4 years now, we do all of the events together. We go to everywhere in South Georgia, and even though literally all my uncles are pastors,
sprinkle some holy water.
I want to try to find the right word. I'm gonna say very passionate pastors.
Okay.
And every time they see us, they do make sure to squeeze in it. Don't forget to make sure Jesus is in your heart, or you're gonna go to hell. I'm like, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I remember that from last year.
Right. Like, yeah.
But you know, they do their best. I think ultimately, all my family is just trying to look out for me and do what they think is best for me, like most families do. And they try their hardest.
100%. And I think it's like, if that's all you know, as far as like, you know, being straight is the right way. I mean, I used to kind of despise that kind of mindset, but once I moved away, it's kind of all they know, you know. So I kind of feel more pity for them than it is like hatred type of thing. So
yeah, it's funny, my family lives in this town called Manor, Georgia. It's really tiny. There's one stop. Have you heard of it?
Flash, I got PTSD.
Yeah, you know it?
Yeah.
So there's Ware County High School is there. I'm not sure. It used to be a really cool high school that I was actually, my cousin would often invite me to events there. They'd have like hay rides and big carnivals for Halloween, and I really loved the school. It's funny, I felt like a student there when I would visit, and the people from all over different counties around it would come because it was like a magnet school. Fortunately, it closed, but it's interesting because when I go back to this city or town, I love it. It's like a little bubble, right? You know, and my whole family sort of runs the town because they're like the dominant family in the county, and so it just feels like home. And I can understand why they don't leave, especially if you're straight, especially if you can find a job nearby. Your whole family's there. What a place! Like, it's almost like paradise for them.
Right.
But you do limit your mindset. You know, you limit your growth, and you sort of don't get to see what else is out there, which even from, you know, Jacksonville, which is a relatively larger city, you know, every time I move, even now when I came to Austin, I still learn more about myself, learn more about different types of people, and how I can continue to grow, which is why I love traveling, you know, so much, and being able to experience new things. Do you like to travel?
I do, but right now we're keeping it domestic.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, keeping it domestic. But I mean, goals are definitely to go to like Italy, you know, the UK, all of that kind of stuff. But I try to get out and about whenever I can, for sure.
That's cool. And so since you've been in Austin, what has your journey been like? Did you kind of move here not knowing anyone? Did you have some friends that you knew who lived here already?
So I actually moved here with my ex-partner. So I kind of, you know, we kind of went on this journey together type of thing. And then we just kind of had a game plan, like, we're going to join the Gay Flag Football League. We kind of had like a whiteboard with like, you know, diagrams and everything.
Hey, preparation is great.
Not just playing, but yeah, I kind of had a goal. Like, I had a mindset, like, I'm going to make friends. I'm going to insert myself into the gay community. I'm going to meet new people. And I kind of hit the ground running in a sense. So it really was good. But I think people move to new cities with the same mindset, and then look around while things don't change. It's like, you got to change your mindset, or you're going to go to the city and fall into the same habits. So
absolutely. I'm the same with my partner. We like to plan everything out. Literally, sometimes we get a whiteboard out, like what it's gonna. I need to physically write it too. I'm one of those people who like to write things out. And did you feel like your plan went how you thought it would, or did things change when you got here?
Right. I mean, besides like inflation, yeah, it went pretty good, I would say. Yeah. It went pretty good. Yeah.
That's cool. And so when you moved here, did you already have a job lined up, or did you decide to come and then kind of figure it out from there?
So I was working remote at the time.
Yeah.
For me, just that risk, that financial risk of moving somewhere without like that cushion of having a job, just I'm not that risky. So yeah, I was working remote at the time, thankfully.
That's cool. Yeah. And so I know we kind of jumped from coming out in college to moving to Austin. And so when you came out, did you find a relationship relatively quickly? What was that like? And is that one of the reasons you came out?
No. So I'm actually still on the market, you know.
Absolutely.
But no, not really. It was more so like becoming one with myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. So that decision kind of made me really want to come out, you know, once I became comfortable with myself.
Yep.
As far as dating wise, I'm just chilling, you know, just you know, smelling the flowers type of thing. But, you know, if you
I got some friends. We'll see what we can do. Hey folks, my podcast Primary Care is sponsored by Rugiette Ready, the latest pharmaceutical advancement in erectile dysfunction. This is a sublingual compounded treatment using 3 ingredients, sildenafil, tadalafil, and apomorphine, and it works up to 5 times faster than pills and chewables. We give you a promo code Primary Care for 20% off your first order and free shipping. Now, let's get back to the content. So whenever you said, I really like that you said, you know, you were going to put yourself first and you can't, you know, pour from a cup that's not full. Yeah. So what kind of made you get to that point? You know, for me, it was the fact that I just wasn't creating substantial relationships with people, and I felt like I was not being able to be authentic with others, which made me feel like I just wasn't authentic with myself, you know, and I wasn't able to progress there. And also I was tired of living a life where I felt like I wasn't embraced for who I was. And when I would see queer people, how happy they were in their community, I just was like, this is where I want to be all the time. Yeah. And so was there something that you were watching or something that you read that just was like, all right, this is it? All right, you're just like, in general, we're done. How did that process sort of work out?
So it kind of started when I was younger. So Will and Grace is kind of what gave me that like end goal type of thing. You know, I used to, you know, most kids was watching things like sports, all of that kind of stuff. I was watching like Will and Grace, like feeling so guilty.
Yes. Been there.
But so that's kind of what's the finished product for me. So just my whole journey leading up to that was just like making sure I'm financially set, have a good foundation of friends, you know, kind of that whole pot being full is kind of what I kind of set up for myself. But my niece being born had a big impact on me too, because it kind of gave me something, like in a sense, like to live for. I'm like, this is somebody I love genuinely, and I want her to grow up and be her genuine self. I don't want her to say like the world made her who she is.
Right.
And then when she was born, you know, I just kind of set myself up, and I just said I got to be myself, you know, not only for me, but for people that may be like me, that may think they have to, you know, shape themselves in a certain shape or form just to kind of fit in. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. It's so interesting too. Will and Grace has had such a big impact on so many people I've met. Actually, one of my partners in the past that I dated when I was living in Atlanta, we watched Will and Grace like every night, and he actually wanted to be a lawyer, and it really made a huge impact on him as a kid. And just seeing a representation of a gay male living in a big city, having a successful job, their own apartment, thriving, dating, having real relationships with friends, that was enough to just be like, oh, I can actually live this way. And then now we see so many more TV series, movies, books out there that are providing, you know, representation for queer people that you can really live however you want. Yep. Do you feel as though you sort of try to do that in your day-to-day life now, just try to authentically live as best as you can?
For sure, 100%. I kind of move like I'm someone now, I'll go like to a bar by myself and kind of move by myself, because I'm like, I came in by myself, you know, so I got to move around like that. So, yeah, I make sure that, you know, if I meet someone that's struggling with their sexuality, of course, I don't just try to, like, force them to come out, but I'm always making sure that safe space is always there with me. And just making sure whether it's, you know, financial, being vulnerable in that aspect, you know, sexuality, just having an open door policy with people is kind of what I try to do as far as, like, putting my sexuality out there in front of people.
Yeah, same, very same. And so now that you are here in Austin, what are your sort of goals? Like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What do you want to do?
Ooh. Ooh. Hopefully AI don't take over, but no, I was just.
I know.
But no, I think goals in the future. I really want to get into like nonprofit.
Yeah.
So like maybe taking a group of kids and like showing them the world from those small towns.
Yeah.
Because that's what kind of helped me, because whatever you see is what you're gonna believe. So I think taking those kids to like New York or maybe even like to LA and showing them that just because this is where you are now, you can get to these places. Because I think some kids don't think it's even possible.
Yeah.
And I think as far as like career wise, I do work for a great company now, so just making sure I level up in that regards, because I do like to live a little bougie.
Yeah. Why not?
But yeah, I think I do want to start like a nonprofit, just giving back to youth.
Yeah, I look back to whenever I was younger. I think a lot of the times I didn't really gravitate towards sports because I didn't feel comfortable there. Not that I wasn't welcome, but I just felt like if I step foot on that football field, they're gonna be like, "Queen, what are you doing out here?" So it's different for everybody, but I do think there's a lot of positive aspects to sports that some of us can miss out on if we're not comfortable there.
For sure.
So not only highlighting the representation of Will and Grace, but your own story. We don't, to be honest with you, see, in my opinion, nearly enough Black representation of growing up queer, especially in the South.
Yeah.
And so I don't want you to feel like I'm having you speak for an entire group of people, but what was, being Black, did that make much of a difference for you and how you decided to come out and your family dynamic and concerns that maybe would make it more difficult in your shoes?
Yeah, 100%. I think being African American, it does come with kind of a masculine type of stigma.
Yeah.
Because we do face a lot of challenges, from different aspects. So it is kind of this mask you have to put up as a Black man. But I think it made other people relate to it, because I know there's other people like me in those same communities.
Yeah.
But it was tough. My family, people that I thought would never be cool with being gay, I'm like, this is one cousin I would never talk to again. But they reached out to me and like, hey man, like, you're still my cousin, I still love you, if anybody mess with you, just call me. So it was great, man. And people can grow, I do believe in that,
for sure.
But yeah, a lot of minorities do struggle with that masculinity aspect, which makes it a challenge. But you'll be surprised, because the world is going in a different direction for sure. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting too, because even the people who may in my family vote in a way that I would not particularly choose, or follow politicians that are not certainly on my team, they have a different perspective when they're actually talking with me and talking to my friends, and they continue to grow, over the last 10 years since I've really, been out with my family. It's sort of incredible to watch their progression. I'm sure society is also putting an impact on them. Obviously, we hear a lot more about queer issues in the news, and there's a lot more representation now. Do you feel like you've seen family members kind of change and grow over time? Like, they try to reach out, I've met a gay person. I'm like, my cousins will always be like, I made a new friend, he's gay. I'm like, congrats. Thanks for contributing.
Right, you got 1 point. 1 point. But no, I will say for sure, and actually my mom, so like, I've just noticed her just kind of start speaking on things differently.
Yeah.
She refers to like, this is so-and-so's partner.
Yeah.
Just those kind of small things. And she even encourages like, people that she may work with, or her friendships, or even people that may have sons that may suspect that they're gay, maybe caught watching Will and Grace, maybe.
Yeah, that's great.
She transforms her language a lot, and she just has grown as far as like building that open floor type of policy. So yeah, for sure, she's probably the biggest person I've seen as far as growth goes.
Yeah, I'm very curious because again, I've been in a relationship for the last 4 years. What is dating like as a attractive young male like yourself, professional, has a career, got things going on, great plans for the future? I'm assuming they'd be lining up at the door.
Oh, I need some wine to talk about this.
All right, the liquid death's not doing it.
But it's been cool. It's been cool. I think, kind of in the age where I am now, I am focused more so on like my career. I'm being a lot more selfish with my time.
Sure.
But I'm definitely open to that, in a sense. But I think I don't want like a relationship to hinder my growth, you know, because I am in a very spontaneous aspect of my life where if somebody says like you got to move to New York for this job, I want to be able to just go. And then all of my friends in relationships, they look stressed out all the time. No, I was just kidding.
But I mean, I struggled with dating like my whole life. And I always was the type of person who wanted a partner. I love to date. I like to have that one person that I hang out with really regularly and can confide in. I talk a lot, so it's best for me to just have one person so that I don't tell everyone all of my private information. And so I always had like a partner or a boyfriend. And then before I met my partner now, Gabriel, I was like, I'm not dating anymore. This is it. I'm done. I'm finally just going to enjoy being single. That lasted like 6 weeks. And then we met at a friend's party. And, you know, at the time, though, going into it, I had a very similar mentality. I was like, okay, I'm, you know, finally really focusing on my career. I just want to make that my priority. And in life, I felt like I was dating people who weren't really a great partner for me. We just didn't fit that well, and we were trying to kind of force things to fit. And that's sort of what I felt like my whole dating life had been, is just trying to force it. What I have found that works really well is you go on a trip with somebody. So literally the night I met my partner, we didn't know each other, but I'm like, hey, I'm going to Hawaii in 3 weeks. Do you want to go?
Yeah.
And I would never necessarily recommend that drastic of a trip, but that was the nearest trip happening for me. And he's like, yeah, let's go. And so that was kind of a cool, you know, response. I like spontaneity. I like being able to kind of just make things happen. And we went on a trip and we got along really well. I was like, this is a good sign because a vacation is a great way to see people's quirks, to see pet peeves, to determine how you're going to handle stress, because vacation is as a luxury and happy and wonderful it can be, can also be very stressful. And usually it is. Have you ever gone on a trip with a partner?
I have. Yeah, I've been on a few, and I'm just so like relaxed and just easygoing, and somebody else is stressed out, and I'm like, okay, you know. So I have been, but I've been great. There have been moments where I'm like, oh, I hope nobody's recording this. We're acting like Karens right now, but no, everything was pretty good overall. Yeah. But that is a good point. I need to write that down, actually.
Yeah, you get to learn about somebody really quickly when you go on a trip, and that was my mentality at the time too. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna try this again, we're on a time. I got to make sure this is gonna work for me, like or not. Let's just move on. And that was kind of gonna be my new strategy with dating. Is like, see how it works in a stressful environment, pressure cooker it, and if it's good, then you know to take it forward. If not, And so how is that with you? Like, has that been a part of your sort of dating? Like, when you meet someone, of course, you exchange socials, and you find it interesting to kind of learn so much about someone so fast?
Yeah, it is interesting. I think, like, I normally take social media kind of with a grain of salt in a sense. Yeah. I tend to be a more private person in regards to social media. But you know, I would date somebody that is very active on social media for sure. But I do think it does play into it, because you can see like how active they are with their friends. You know, do they like to you know, travel a lot, all of that kind of stuff. Do they eat like seafood, which I don't, you know, but it's just
good to know, you know, these are good things.
Yeah, no, just random things. So I think it is something good to kind of give a initial look into somebody's, but I think it's like meeting the secretary at a building. It's like, you can know what's going on, but it's not going to dive too deep into that person. Exactly. So I take it with a grain of salt.
Exactly. People like myself too, I post a lot, but it's not very diverse. I post like the same stuff over and over. So people would assume that I'm just constantly working out and eating watermelon and like trying to stay as healthy as I can. But I, you know, go out to eat, and I eat fast food occasionally.
Let's go to Popeyes after
this. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the butter biscuit at Popeyes with a little bit of honey.
That's hard.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Where can people find you if they're curious to take you on a date or something?
For sure. Well, my Cash App is up to the
Absolutely.
No, you can just find me on Instagram at _BHINESS. But yeah. That's kind of where you can find me for sure.
Get ready. They're coming for you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. And I look forward to hopefully having you back once you get this nonprofit up and running.
For sure. I'll be honored.
Idea. Cool.
Add us on Instagram at Primary Care Pod. Catch up on past episodes and don't miss out on new ones. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify at Primary Care Pod.